Recently, I asked people what is awful to do, but wonderful to have done. What do you think? Tell me something that it is awful to do, but it is wonderful to have done. Not only one, but many things in life are like that. For example, physical exercise, for most, is awful. If it wasn't, everyone would do it. But after you do the physical exercise, it's wonderful. The feeling, the sensation of job done, and that you've done something good for your body. Just as it's awful to forgive those who hurt you, did something wrong to you. But after you have forgave, it's wonderful. The feeling of relief, of freedom from what have happened. There are many things that are awful to do. It is awful for you to give up on your will, on what you want so much, to do God's will. For you to give up on your will to do what is right. It is awful, but after you've done it, you are happy because you didn't succumb to your desire that most probably would have led you to disaster, destruction. So there are many things in life that are awful to do, but wonderful after we do it. And if you realize, most of them have to do with a disciplined, restrained life, a life that you will have a lot of success, benefits, if you follow that discipline. But also, that reflects a war inside of us. This war is the war of our will against what is right. Many times our will goes against what is right and good, because not all that we want is good for us. And if you don't understand that, most probably you are a slave of your will, and many things in your life lead you to destruction. When you do what you feel, what you want, regardless of the consequences. You must understand this basic principle of life, that our desire can be against us. Our desire can be for our harm. So not all that you want is good for you. It's that story that they say out there, that they sing in songs out there. They write in poems saying, follow your heart. Do what your heart tells you. If the heart says so, nobody can control it. And it goes on and on. This is one of the worst advices that somebody can receive or practice. Because if you do all that your heart requires, certainly you will destroy yourself and destroy others too. The Apostle Paul, speaking about this, he said in his word, you find this text, that in the book of Romans, the letter that he wrote to the Romans, on chapter 7, right in the end of the chapter, he says, for I know that in me, that is, in my flesh, my will, myself, nothing good dwells. For to will is present with me, but how to perform what is good I do not find. For the good that I will to do, I do not do, but the evil I will not to do, that I practice. So he spoke about this war that there is within the human being of wanting to do good and not doing it, and not wanting to do evil and end up doing it. This war within the human being. And your victory, your success in life depends on you winning this war. Have more victories than defeats in this war. It's important for you to have that in mind. And he said something very profound. He said, "For I delight in the law of God according to the inward man." In other words, there's something in us that connects, agrees with God's law. For example, you agree, the majority, everyone will agree that stealing is wrong. The law of God that says, "You shall not steal," this law matches with our inward man. Our inward man takes pleasure in this law. It's true. You shall not steal. Don't take what is mine. The law of God that says, "You shall not commit adultery," also matches with us. I was talking to a young man who had a very promiscuous life, a libertine lifestyle. And at some point of his life, he had 3 women at the same time, and they didn't know about each other. He had a lot of money, so he maintained one in one city, another one in a neighboring city, and another one in his city. And with a lot of lies, presents, gifts, he lived this crooked life. So he did whatever he wanted. But one day, one of these women betrayed him, and he found out. He didn't like. He didn't like it. He was very upset with that. In other words, as long as he was doing to others, it is fine. But when it was done to him, that I don't accept. In other words, inside of him, even with all his promiscuity, there was a part of him that said, "This is not nice." But he only felt that when it was done against him. When he did to others, he justified it, he explained it, "I'm a man, I can." Anyway, do you understand? Paul spoke about that. "For I delight in the law of God according to the inward man." But he said also, "But I see another law in my members." In other words, in my will, in my body, there's another law warring against the law of my mind. Look how profound. There's a conflict within. As if there was 2 dictators in us, one contrary to the other, warring against the law of my mind and bringing me into captivity to the law of sin which is in my members. Then he concludes, "O wretched man that I am, who will deliver me from this body of death?" So Paul recognized that us, the human being, in our fallen condition, has a word that describes us. And this word was wretched. O wretched man that we are. Wretched on this nature that we are under. And this nature that even in the end enjoys doing good. And there's only one solution for this fallen nature. And it is what Paul said, "I thank God through Jesus Christ our Lord." In other words, the only solution to solve that is to surrender this flesh, this will, and to submit it, to subject it to God's will. Because that in the Lord's Prayer, Jesus included this prayer, "Let your will be done, as is done in heaven." Because if it is not God's will, but man's will, the earth will be what it is. why is the world is what it is. Diseases, misery, destruction. Why so much destruction, misery in the world? Because the human being follows their own will and not God's will. And whenever you follow your will, it will lead you to misery and destruction, to all the definitions of the word. You can be very rich, but miserable. This word encapsulates all the destruction, misery that can take place in the life of the human being. But if you want to be free, subject your will to God's will. Yes, it is awful to do this many times. It hurts in the flesh, in us, in the heart, in the pride. It hurts. It is awful to do. But once you have done God's will and not yours, it is wonderful to have done. If today's video helped you and you know someone that could benefit from it, share it with them, and if you haven't subscribed to the channel, you may do so now. See you later.